Good morning and happy 2024. I cannot believe we have reached yet another new year. I hope yours has started off a little easier than mine. I have been sick since about mid December, so my voice is a little scratchy, but it is slowly coming back. So I figured I would jump on and say hi. Um, what I want to talk to you today about is about it's a couple of different things, but I'm going to start with talking about morning pages because that's something that I'm looking into. So, morning pages, if you haven't heard, it's based on Julia Cameron's book, The Artist Way, right? And the subtitle of it is A Spiritual Path to Higher Creativity, right? So I knew when I was jumping into this that there was going to be kind of a heavy lean on the spiritual aspect. And so Julia's claim is that all of us are creative people, 100% behind that, and that this creativity comes from God or higher power or universe or spirit or kind of whatever words you want to use for that. And that's where she kind of loses me a little bit. I find it a little off-putting. She recognizes this and she says that, you can substitute any word you want, higher power, whatever. And she also says that you don't have to believe the theory behind something for the effects to work, right? And I've seen that kind of in my own life, right? So when I was going through coach training, we learned about a lot of different modalities that, I'm going to be honest, rang my bullshit meter, right? So I learned about EFT and manifestation and time techniques and things that just rang a little crazy to my very logical, analytical brain. But I will say that EFT is my go-to method now when I am strung up and I'm high wired and just in a panicky, tense situation, right? So taking a step back, EFT is an emotional freedom technique, right? And it's based on ancient, Eastern medicine. The idea is that we have emotions blocked in different energy meridians in our body. And so the practice involves kind of tapping through these different parts of our body, right? And kind of while we're doing this, you're kind of giving a voice to the fears that you have. And you're also, you're giving a voice to the fears that you have, and you're also kind of moving those into a positive reframing at the end, right? And so I've done this a couple times. I do it, if I have a headache and I decide to Google it and learn that I now have brain cancer, I will turn to EFT to kind of calm myself down. And I can see that it works. I have a heart rate monitor watch that I use, and so I can see that it actually does have a positive effect and I feel better. And whether I actually believe there are emotions stored in these different parts of our body doesn't really matter because I can see the effects that are working afterwards, right? So I feel better at the end of it. My heart rate is slower, so it works for me whether I believe in the science or not, right? And so that kind of goes to Julia Cameron's thing. But the other issue that I kind of have is kind of on that spiritual aspect, right? And it's not because necessarily my own beliefs around, religion or lack thereof, I guess. It's because I think that when we focus on kind of the spiritual aspect, we're taking away some of the self-efficacy of our own behaviors, our own actions, right? So, I'm sorry, I made a couple of thoughts here from earlier, right? So, I think when we're putting that power in someone else's hands, we're saying that we can't do it kind of without that. And that just doesn't really sit well with someone like me, a really determined, control freak kind of person, right? So I do the pages, not because I necessarily believe it's putting me in touch with God, but because it makes intuitive sense to me to do them, right? So I think it makes sense to sit up in the morning and to get out all of our junky thoughts for the day, right? Just get all of that junk out for 30 minutes. And then it makes room for the fresh creative thoughts, right? So you kind of give a little bit of space there. So like I said, the God thing part doesn't really sit with me because I think it takes some of our capability away. But for other people, this may work great, right? Like it means that I don't have to kind of do this on my own. There is something there. I'm even stronger because I have this higher power or God kind of guiding me through. And if that works for you, then fantastic. But that spiritual aspect, it's a little bit off-putting to me. And that's one of the things that I found a little bit off-putting about the AA model. Now, before I get in and before you start raising your pitchforks, I'm not here to bash AA, right? I'm also not here to bash alcohol. So I think that alcohol is a cancerous poison, right? But I also think the same thing about sugar. Like, I've read a lot about sugar. I think sugar is absolutely terrible for you. And yet, I am not willing to give up ice cream at this point, right? So it's about kind of it's making our own cost benefit analysis, right? Like, a lot of us drive just about every single day, right? Because we've made that decision that it is better, that we would prefer to drive where we're going instead of walk, even though there's a chance of an accident at the end of that. And there are a lot of accidents that happen every year. It's much riskier to drive than fly, right? But we do it anyway. And the same can be true for your sugar or alcohol. Like, I just want to make sure that you have the information around this so you can make an informed decision, because I didn't know these things. I did not know that alcohol was tied to cancer, like definitively tied to cancer. Not like you're going to have a kind of higher risk. Like, there's a link is there. It's been proven. And that there's no safe amount of alcohol. But anyway, that's a whole story for another day. I want to make sure that you have the information, because the alcohol industry spends a lot of money. We're talking billions of dollars every single year to kind of keep this hidden from you and to focus on the good stuff so that they don't have to be regulated like the tobacco industry is. They spend a lot of money to focus on all the reasons you should be drinking, why it makes you happier, funnier, sexier, whatever, instead of the actual effects that are going to be happening in your body. But again, story for another day. So back to AA. What did I say? So okay, like I said, not here to bash AA. If AA has worked for you, then I sincerely mean kudos to you. Like, truly, I think that's a fantastic accomplishment, especially in this day and age when we have just an alcohol-soaked society. Like, there are ads for alcohol everywhere. They put alcohol in everything, in ice cream and popsicles and sparkling waters and everything, right? So alcohol is everywhere. And if you've made that choice through AA or anything else, like, honestly, kudos to you. That's incredible. It just didn't sit right with me, right? And so when I'm kind of looking through my options, I realized I have an issue with alcohol and I couldn't do it on my own. I had tried to do it on my own many times and I just wasn't getting anywhere. So I knew that I needed support, and I thought of two options. So the first was rehab, and I was sure as hell not about to spend $30,000 a month being locked away somewhere. I didn't feel like I needed that much support, like such an extreme reaction for where I was. Like, I was still coping in my life. I was working every day and doing really well. I didn't have legal issues or friendship issues or any of that. I just was drinking more than I wanted to and could not cut down on my own. So in my head, that left me AA. And like I said, that the spiritual aspect did not appeal to me. And that wasn't the only thing that didn't kind of, that worked for me. I don't use the word alcoholic for a lot of reasons. That could be a whole nother video. I will say that I was addicted to alcohol, but I wouldn't use the word alcoholic. It's a whole nother thing. It's not a medical term. And I can get into that another time. I also don't use the word in recovery. Like, I don't believe that I am in recovery. I believe I've recovered, right? Like, I have no desire for alcohol. I have no doubt that the choice that I'm on is the right choice for me. I have no desire to turn back, right? Like, it's not that I'm on a path towards this new life change. Like, I've changed. Like, there was a divide and I've gone a different way. So it doesn't ring true to me to say I'm in recovery for something, because it's done in my head, right? Does that mean I will never drink again? Absolutely not. It doesn't necessarily. I use the same words that Annie Grace actually uses, that I drink as much as I want whenever I want. I just haven't wanted to drink because I've changed my mind around it, right? I haven't been focusing on my behavior of not drinking. I've been focusing on what I think about drinking. And to be honest, it repulses me, right? More power to you. For some people, eating ice cream is disgusting. For me, I'm going to pass on that beer, right? So I think that the change has been made, and I'm not comfortable using the word recovery. I also don't like counting days. I don't think it's very helpful for someone like me. I think it sets us up for failure, right? So if you're at 30 days, 6 months, 10 years, whatever, and you have a slip, a relapse, a data point, whatever you want to call it, you have to start back over at zero. And I just don't see that that's true, right? The person you are 30 days, 6 months, 10 years later is not the person that you are on day one, right? Like, when you started, you have learned, you have grown, you have changed, you've done so much work. And to say that you have to start over and hand back your coin, negates all of that work. I just don't think that's fair. And I think it sets us up to continue on that habit for what I call, pardon my language, the fuck it effect, right? So I think if you get to that point where you're like, well, shoot, already did it once, might as well keep doing it. I think that's a possibility, right? When you take away all that hard work that someone's done, instead of acknowledging, yes, you have been clean, sober, alcohol-free, whatever word you want to use, for this amount of time, and giving that person credit. Okay, so you had a slip, a data point, a relapse. Like, let's keep going. Let's look at what caused you to have that action, and let's turn a different way, right? That's the way I would prefer to look at it. Again, different strokes for different folks, right? I'm just here to kind of present a different option. And I think that's really what's important at the end of the day, right? Is the different options. I didn't know that there was another option. Those were the two things that I thought I had to choose between, and both of them, neither of them appealed to me, right? It wasn't until I kind of stumbled on coaching that I found that there's a kind of secret door number 3, right? So if you had asked me before, a coach is the person with the whistle that's yelling at you to run faster and score, right? Like, I didn't know that you had kind of coaches that can lead you through life changes. And that's exactly what happened to me, right? So I ended up joining a program. There were daily lessons. There were journaling exercises. There was a community of people, and we had coaches, and you could have access to coaches every single day if you wanted to, but there was no strict one size fits all. This is what we're doing, right? Like, some people quit drinking on day 1. Some people quit drinking on day 61, right? It really honored the individuality of us and the fact that we are our own authority. Like, it doesn't have to be, this is this strict program and this is kind of the only way that you can do things, right? So I found it really helpful for someone like me. The program for coaching also really focused on not the behavior. The behavior wasn't part of it. I mean, the behavior will change when you change your thoughts and feelings, right? So there's an acronym I learned actually from one of my coaches. It's TFAR. And it stands for thoughts, actions, results, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, right? TFAR. And our actions are always a result of our feelings, which are always a result of our thoughts, right? Like, no one can make you mad. It's the thought about what someone did that makes you mad, right? It's kind of moving through that pyramid. So if you want to change your results, which is really based on your actions, you have to work on your thoughts and feelings first. It's not about abstaining for X amount of days to get to where you want to go. It's getting to the point where you don't know why you wouldn't want to abstain, right? It's changing your beliefs about alcohol. It's learning about what it physically does to you. It's learning about the ways it strips you of power by saying that you're not smart enough, that you're not cool enough, that people don't want to talk to you or socialize with you, that you are not enough, period, without this substance. That's not something I was willing to accept anymore. And it wasn't until I took a hard look at those through a coaching program that I realized that there was another option, right? So that really is how I found that coaching was going to be the best fit for me. And again, we're all different. I'm just here to show that there's a secret door number 3, that this is a possibility for you. And what's similar kind of between all 3 of these is the support aspect, right? Between AA, coaching, and rehab, there's support behind it. Like, you could certainly make a significant change in your behavior on your own, but it's just so much easier when you have someone behind you, right? When you have someone there to cheer you on, to motivate you when you're not feeling motivated, when you have someone to pick you up when you fall down or to lean on when things are hard. Like, having someone there in your corner really makes all the difference. And so however you find that, I truly don't care. Like I said, as long as it's legal and you're not hurting anybody, however it is that you find support, kudos to you. I'm just here to show you an option that worked for me, and that was coaching. That was something that really focused on my thoughts and my beliefs, that honored who I was as an individual and didn't require me to have, a spiritual aspect or, commit to a 30-day stay in lockup. In order to make that change, it really focused on who I am as an individual, what specifically is holding me back, and how we can move forward. So if you want to learn more about coaching, hit me up, let me know. I have been coached, and I am a coach, right? So I've been on both sides. I actually still have coaches. I have a life coach and a business coach at the moment, because I believe in the transformative power of having kind of that outside perspective, of having someone who can kind of open my eyes to things that I hadn't seen, to show me where my weaknesses are so that I can move past them. I mean, isn't that the goal, right? Aren't we all here to kind of improve, whether it's to quit drinking or to grow our businesses or to have our, greater self-esteem, whatever it is that we're looking for. Like, we have blind spots, and having a third party there who, number one, supports you always 100%, believes in you even when you don't believe in yourself, is incredible. And two, can kind of provide that different perspective to really open your mind and really help you see new ways forward. I mean, I think it's incredible. But if you want to learn more about coaching, reach out to me. If you want to learn more about AA and rehab and whether or not that's the right choice for you, something I would recommend is a book I recently read. I'm sorry it's backwards, but it's The Sober Truth by Lance and Zachary Dodes. And the subtitle of it says, Debunking the Bad Science Behind 12-Step Programs and the Rehab Industry, right? So you know where he's going to go with this. They're they're going to say that neither of these are the right. They argue that psychotherapy actually is the best course. And again, I don't think there's a best course. I think there's the best course for you, right? I just wanted to make sure that there are other options, because they look at they do a deeper view of the science and the studies that are out there, and they show that, or they claim that 5 to 10% of people are successful in AA. I've seen numbers as high as 60%, but either way, it's not 100%, right? So if this is the perfect program, that if it doesn't work, there's something wrong with you, it should work all of the time, right? Like, I'm not willing to accept that if something doesn't work, it's an issue with me. So that's one of the claims that are in there, is that it's just not, there hasn't been enough rigorous studies to show that it is the perfect method, and I just don't believe there's a perfect method of anything. I think that there's a perfect method for you, and it needs to align kind of with your personality. And so if AA doesn't align with your personality, let's explore other options. If it does, kudos, fantastic. I'm here to support it. I'm here for any way that you make positive behavior changes. I'm here to support that. So that's kind of all that I have to say for the moment. So if you want to learn more about coaching, hit me up. Otherwise, have a very happy 2024.